Good morning and welcome to my live podcast. I'm Bob Pace. I'm here to talk about CPS. Now, CPS stands for the Child Protection Service. It also stands for the Child Protection System. Now, CPS has been around a long time. It's been in three eras, from colonial days to 1875, then from 1875 to 62, and then from 62 to the present. Most of the things have happened in the last 30 years. Now, you all are faced with a horrible, horrible agency. If you haven't found out now, it's very terrible. They are heartless, they're ruthless, they're not transparent. They make false claims. They will violate your Constitution and civil rights. I know because I've been there. For 14 years, I've been fighting CPS when they came into my life based on false allegations from lay people. My in-laws, my family in-laws, destroyed our life, our family life, with our children, our home, each other's. It's been very painful. Very, very, very painful. I want to welcome Bev Ernest, who just texted a message. She says that her daughter's trying to fight for custody, but went home from NF. The hopiness is so unreal now. Her children are stuck there. Well, I haven't really got into talk about how they interact with this podcast, but Bev has found it by typing in comments. I welcome all the comments from you all. I would appreciate the city and state you're texting from, so I get an idea of where the problems are in the country. Now, I've talked to over 500 people and been doing this show for many months. 14 times a week, twice a day, 7 days a week. Now, North S, I don't know what that stands for. Could be North, I'm trying to think. See, South Dakota, North Dakota, no, is it North Dakota? Anyway, if you could help me out here, Bev, and tell me where you're from. Yeah, I know the homeless is really a bad situation. Nova Scotia. I'm so sorry. And you're from Canada. I'm glad to have you because I have had Canada, Australia, United Kingdom, Ghana, and Mexico text in. Everybody in this world is welcome. CPS is a worldwide problem, the child support system. Now, the child support system is supposed to be a public agency, whether you're in Canada or in the United States, that protects our children from neglect and abuse and does family reunification. Family reunification. And I know that you're probably fighting a very terrible case there. And sad part about it is that they will take your children through trafficking. That's right. They do trafficking just like the illegal trafficking, but they make it legal. And they put them into the foster care system, either a group home, single family home, a shelter, whatever it is. And they do all this for the sole purpose of making money. Now, I don't know how much they make in Canada, and I don't know too much. I'm going to have to study some more about Nova Scotia child protection system. But I know in the United States, they're making about $20,000, that's US dollars, every month for every child they have an open case for. So it's a money making thing. It's $1 billion business. And I'm not trying to say all the child protection system is bad, but it seems a lot because the common thing you all have, and I'm talking no matter where you're from, whether you're in Nova Scotia, Canada, or down in Florida or Texas or down in Mexico, the problem seems to be is that they want to do trafficking because they want to make money. There's no accountability, there's no transparency with the agency. Now, besides text in and comments, make sure they're pertaining to CPS. I want to help you. You can also, I can take calls from you. I have a phone number you can call. My office number is 626 698 0990. And that will take you right to my phone, and I can put you on the air so you can talk about your case. So that's one way that you can interact with this podcast, besides texting, or I should say that's the second way, besides texting. Now, if you don't want to talk on the podcast, you can write my producer, Grace, at vincentwdavis.com. That's an email you send her, and she will help you arrange the time that you could get on the show. Just pick morning or evening show and pick Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, or whatever there. And so I want you all to listen closely because maybe there's some things I can help you with. That's what I'm trying to do. I do this podcast to help others, not go through what I did. I did everything wrong, and I have 3 rules to talk about it. But as many of my callers have called about, like yesterday night, we were talking about the ICIP. That's the interstate compact between the states about taking a child that has mental issues and place them in a treatment home in another state because that state cannot take care of them. This was happening in Georgia. Georgia was sending young people to Texas because they couldn't handle the emotional state of these young people. And that one was tricky because while they're in the transit and in the state of Texas, they turn 18. And when you turn 18, you're no longer in the child protection services. You're no longer covered by them. You now are considered an adult. And there's rules for adults. If adults are abused, there's social workers that will help out with adults. Or seniors at 65 and older, they'll help out seniors. Elderly abuse, adult abuse, children abuse. Those are the things of social services. Now, social service is a branch of the U.S. government that takes care of our welfare of our individuals and families and so forth. So, let me see here. The whole purpose of social service to deal with poverty and inequality. It also is to protect our children. And this is mandated by the U.S. government to provide help to these people. And that's where they get the funding. And that's where the social workers want to make the money off the children, family. And what happens, let me see here. Hello, Letizzy, draw Kringting. Help me from the Mumpuzubeek. Okay. I have not had anybody from Mozambique. I've had from Ghana, but that's a new one. And I don't know how I can help you from Mozambique unless it's a CPS related matter. What city in Mozambique? Leo Tizzy da Quintin. Anyway, we have two people, Bev Ernest and Leo Tizzy da Quintin. They have text in the message. Now, this show is produced by Vincent W. Davis and Associates. I want to thank Mr. Davis for this podcast. And if any of you need help, please call him at 888-888-6582. He's a family law attorney, and he can help you. Just call in. I'll talk to you more about my rule number 1 about hiring an attorney to take you through this maze of CPS. CPS is really a crazy place. So we have someone from Nova Scotia and someone from Mozambique that wants to talk about CPS, Child Protection System. That's what we're in, the Child Protection System. It's a branch of social services. Now, you can be at different stages in your program. I don't know where you're at. It depends on your questions you ask. It starts at the beginning with a phone call into the agency. Someone may call 911 and they report their child's in immediate need of assistance or whatever it is. Then the police will dispatch someone out there. They also call CPS if it involves children. And if it's in imminent danger, they will take the child on the spot. If it's not in imminent danger, they do not take the children. You don't have to let them go in your home. You don't have to do that at all. I thought I was getting a phone call, but that's not a phone call. Wow. No, here. I have no idea what that call is all about, but anyway, I got a call. I tried to take her that call. That was, I guess, a missed number. That's not my call. But again, if you're trying to reach me, call it at 626-698-0990. It'll be much appreciated. Um, we don't work on WhatsApp app. I'm sorry. What is your CPS question, Liz Tizzle? What is your CPS question? Need to tell me your CPS question. Now, if you don't want to talk on the show today, you can also schedule a time with my assistant, which is well, they were here, but suddenly they disappeared. There it is. Her name is Grace, and she's at Vincent W. Davis and Associates. You can email her at grace@vincentwdavis.com, and she'll schedule a time one of my 14 shows. I'm on here from 10 in the morning for an hour Pacific Standard Time, and it's 7 o'clock for an hour evening time. And we have a range of all kinds of people calling with all kinds of different matters. Again, if you'd like to, Bev, talk more about your case, I'd love to have you on the show. And also, Leo Tizzy, also, if you want to be, I don't know what city you're in Mazdabeek, and I don't know what your CPS case is. Gina, I'm from Wisconsin. I'm dealing with the most corrupt city, Manitowoc. Okay, that's an interesting name for a city. And I'd like to hear more about why it's so corrupt. And if you'd like to talk on my show, you guys can call in at 626-698-0990 and talk about your CPS case. Talk about your CPS case. Now, I had a case, and I don't know who Stephen Avery was prosecuted. I don't know the Stephen Avery, and we like to keep names separate here. We don't like to put names in there because we're supposed to be, talking strictly about the concepts and stuff like that, not to put names of judges or people or stuff like that. So, he's making a murder documentaries on Netflix. Okay, well, this is not about murder. This is about child protection, how to deal with the child protection system, how to deal with your agency. In California, it's the Child Protection Services. In Washington, Oregon, it's Child Protection Services. In Arizona, it's Department of Child Care. It's different acronyms. It's all the same thing. And there's so we've had some text messages come in. I don't know. I mean, the first one, Beverly says it's horrible in Nova Scotia. And then Gina says Montabeek in Wisconsin is the worst one with Wisconsin, a very corrupt city. Yes, there are a lot of cases of corruptness going on. I'm aware of that. You read it in the news all the time. So if you want to call in, please call in and we can talk about it. I want to thank the people for the thumbs up and the hearts and the smiley faces. It's good to have people, address the show. One thing you got to be aware of, and I want to get into these 3 rules and get them out of the way, is you're going to find the child protection system very corrupt, very hard to work in. You know the story of Alice in Wonderland? She falls in a rabbit hole and she goes through so many doors and so frustrated in a very strange world. That's what I'm describing child protection system is. It's a strange world. It's a world of deceit, alienation from your kids, corruption, disappointments. You name it, they've done it. They violate your civil rights and your constitutional rights. But one thing that'll help you, and more than anything else, is you need to get an attorney. You probably say, I can't afford an attorney. Most of the people that call in here don't have the money. I didn't have the money. I had to sell my house to get the money because my family was that important to me. So, if you're going to get open heart surgery, you're not going to do it yourself. You're not going to get a layman to do it or the wrong doctor to do it. You're going to get a professional surgeon, somebody that has gone to medical school, that's done the internship, that's mentored with other doctors, that knows how to do open heart surgery. Because that's what child protection system is. It's very complex. They're like a spider spinning a web around you. They'll take you in and then spit you out. They're horrible with their children in foster care. Children are abused. Children are taken. They're very mean to grandparents. They're very mean to elders. They're mean to fathers and mothers. It's not a healthy agency. And these are from my experiences personally and from over 500 people I talked to in different parts of the country. And people are trying to make changes. It got so bad that in Kentucky, Richmond, Kentucky, that $389,000 went unaccounted for in the child protection system. Somehow they've lost $389,000. So you need to get an attorney, and I have one here because I always tell people make a list of 10 family law attorneys. You look them up, you make the list, and you list all the ones that you think are good, 10 family attorneys. From that list, you're going to interview 5 of them. And the 5 you're going to interview, you're going to find out which ones fought child protection services, which one has won cases against child protection services, and which ones have got the children returned. Also, you want to see their recommendations so you can talk to other people that have used that attorney. And then from there, you can make a decision of what attorney will fit your needs, the chemistry. Now, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to give you one of those 5 attorneys. His name is Vincent W. Davis. He is a professional family law attorney. He has fought CPS. He has gotten kids back from CPS. He has also done lawsuits at the state level and at the federal level against CPS, and he's won those cases. So he's a very aggressive attorney. He's exactly what you need. So all you need to do is call in the 888-888-6582 and schedule a consultation with Mr. Davis for $49.99. And that'll be a 30-minute consultation. And it's $49.99. So that is one attorney that will make you feel at peace because you're going to, for a year and a half, I tried to fight the child protection system. And I wasn't very much left. I went to the Child Protection Services in California and tried to talk to the director. And he was in this Taj Mahal of a building. I mean, you know what the Taj Mahal of India looks like? Well, this building's like that. It's green. It looks almost like the Emerald City of Oz. And this guy had so much gold around his neck, I thought he'd topple over. But I met with him, and it went one ear, went out the other ear. The same thing holds true for all his cronies, the supervisors and stuff. I'm really angry because I had a perfect functional family. The only hiccup that I had in my life at that time was I had lost my job through no fault of my own. I was unemployed at age 60. and struggling to find work. And people weren't interested in people that are 60. I went back to my old company that I worked for, and they just, they said, we are a young company. Now, there's nothing wrong with old people, but it seems lately that the bandwagon is, in the politician world, they're saying that our president's too old to work. And I know one thing in the state of California, to renew your driver's license after age 70, you have to do it by going in person because they want to check you out. I guess they think you're too old to drive. Anyway, that's what I was struggling with. And I had other issues going on that were minor that impacted. But apparently, the family members of my in-laws decided to take upon themselves to call in and make accusations that weren't true. They made stupid accusations. We weren't feeding our kids. We weren't taking them to school. We had not paid the electric bill. We had not paid the water bill. All kinds of stories. And every one of them I had to disprove because the way that CPS works is when they receive a phone call, they believe it's true and they have to act on it within 24 hours. And they do sometimes come out. Now, the times I talked to them, I think I only let them in the house one time or twice. And at that time, there was nothing wrong with my house. And then I got to the point where I dealt with them outside by the car. And the stupid things they were saying just didn't make sense to me. Like our kids are failing or not taken to school. And when I see my kids' grade reports, I meet with the teacher, they are. So there was this constant barrage by, family members. And he's supposed to be a good family. It's my wife's family. But they have some issues. And for some reason, they abused my wife a lot. She's a loving woman, but she was abused a lot growing up. She was not protected. Where is CPS? Because my in-laws were a perfect example of why CPS should investigate them. It was hard. It was really, 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 really hard. So I'm telling you that this agency is so tough. They're going to come to your home and take your kids away because it's imminent danger. Now, not every case is imminent danger. Not every case is that kids have to be taken away. My kids were not necessary to take. They weren't in imminent danger. I was struggling. I couldn't afford a lot of things, and the home reflected that. Every family has issues. Every family tries to work through them because we're not born with an operation manual of how to take care of a family or how to do anything. We're not born with operation manual how to date. It's like when you work on a car, you're given an operation manual and know what to do. Well, it sounds like we lost our people from Monstebeek. I don't know. Maybe they were playing around and playing stupid, but they were a Facebook person from Monstebeek that I thought had a CPS concern or question in there. So it's very important that you get this attorney because this attorney will make your life so much more easier because you need help, and I needed help. I tried to do this on my own, as I told you. I got nowhere with the director. I went to the top. I tried to do complaints. And now I know a lot more. I wish I knew now what I knew because back then because I lost one of my 3 children that they stole. Yes, lost. And it's a hard thing as a father to lose your child. Now, at this stage of my life, I'm supposed to be in my golden years, enjoying life, and I'm now seeing the face and the fact that my family is crumbling. I have 2 sets of children, 3 older children, 3 younger children. The older children don't even want to talk now. I don't know what has happened. There's some things that I've yet to find out why, you know, um, my wife, who has had 2 children, unfortunately went through rape, or actually both are through rape, but her second child she was trying to raise. And then I became the only father she knew to 25, and then she moved out, which is okay. I mean, she had to move on. But then what happened then is that I no longer hear from her, which is hard because I helped her go through her college for 2.5 years, and she didn't invite me to her graduation, which was sad. So, it is hard. Everybody's suffering, everybody's hurting there. Um, and my first child that I've not talked to since she's age 3 was taken from me by my first wife and said that you'll never see your daughter again. And the sad part is, like all y'all are faced with, is it takes money. It takes money to fight, to get your kids back. Last night, we had a woman from Georgia, Danielle, who had a son with special needs. Anyway, her mother had custody of her while she was going through being incarcerated. Yes, people do have problems, but she served her time. She got out. She saw her mother, but then her mother passed away. Her mother had custody. Her mother's sister started playing God and made accusations that are not true. And because this woman's incarcerated, the child protection service won't listen to her. Anyway, he's now an adult. He was in this system when he was shipped from Georgia to El Paso, Texas. And then he's lost in this system. And now they're trying to um, adult. He thinks they're crazy. He needs adult care from social services. It's a big mess. So your case may be 20 times worse or whatever mine was, and so forth. But we believe in something called family. Family is where people grow up and they work their problems out together. They listen, they understand. There are times that people will get frustrated or angry. And a great way to do it is do a timeout. Now, we tell our children how to time up, but a lot of us make the mistake that after the timeout's over, we don't have the children come back and explain, do you know why you were in the timeout? Do you understand? See, we need to talk to our children. We don't. And we get frustrated at work or wherever we're at, and we need to do a timeout ourselves. And timeout is a simple walk. Walk outside, enjoy the fresh air, go to the beach. But we need to work those things out. Right now, a lot of you are probably homeless, low income. I mean, the majority of the people that come on the show have not been to college. That's not against you because you can't afford to go to college. Are low income and been homeless from time to time, and it's hard for you to make ends meet for food or for rent. And you're trying to raise your children as best you can. My heart goes out to you all because I've tried for a long time to raise my children. My children range from the older ones from 42, 36, and 32 to the young ones from 24, 21, and 18. And all 6 of them are beautiful because they're all doing well. They have their little glitch, and I think the younger ones have been really troubled by what the child protection system has done and what foster care has done and the experience they had in there. But It's an agency that's supposed to help out family through family reunification. But one thing you'll notice that when you're in the child protection services, they don't have weekly meetings with your children to discuss where the parents are doing and what the children are doing. There's no communication. They don't like to communicate. They like you to be alienated from your parents because they're hoping that you'll be adopted and they get the money into the age of 18. And I know the money is a lot because I've had people here on the show. One person worked as a cashier at a check cashing place, and she saw a check for $14,000 for one child, and that was a foster care mother. And I'm really wondering, 14,000 is a lot of money for 1 month for foster care. And so, it is a very lucrative business. It's $1 billion business. So you got to be careful. You need to know things. Now, rule number 2 deals with having track of all the incidents. You need to write down on paper, I didn't do this. This is a mistake here. But as soon as the incident happens, you log in the time, the date, and the people that are involved. 2 social workers, a policeman, a mother, a parent, a child, whatever. You write the names down. If you don't know the names, you just write the number count down and what they're doing. Then the next line, you put down what the incident was. They came to my home. They called me. They took my children away. Whatever the incident is, you write it down. Then after that, and that may take 1 or 2 lines, write down the incident. Then you put down the outcome. You may know the outcome. You may not know. Do it. You have to come back later and do the outcome. But that's what you should do with your child protection case. You need to keep a good, accurate record of things because you'll need that later. And these things, even though they say this case is supposed to be over in 48 days, it never happens. They'll stretch it out as long as they get money. That's all their goal is, money. And it's sad, but that is the issue there. Again, Gina and Bev and our guy from Mostabik, I don't know where he went. If you have any more comments to make, please text me the CPS comments. So anyway, with this notebook, you put the incidents in a couple lines, you skip, and then the second instant, couple lines to skip, the third instant, and so forth. Reason why you skip a couple lines, you may want to come back to that area and write in some notes. So you got to have room to write some additional notes. And that's something that you really should have because you're going to need that later. The case may not be over in eight months. It may be over in a year or 2 or 3. My case was over in 4 years. It took me 4 years to get my children back with an attorney. So rule number 3 is the most important rule you ever do is you don't talk to social workers or police about these matters. The more you talk, the more you're going to get yourself saying things they'll use against you. Also, they're going to want to take your child from your home and you say no. They also want to come into your home, you say no. It's your constitutional rights. You still have control or custody of your kids, and they need what's called a warrant to come into your home. They have something that determines probable cause, and then they have to be very, very careful to list the person they're coming to investigate, the address of the place they're investigating, the date and the time. And so if you're, in court at 11 o'clock and they only do it at 11 o'clock to contact you, that's not very, it's not very, I'm trying to think of the word, I guess it escapes my mind. Anyway, going back to saying no to social workers, you'll end up saying something that you regret. I find out that a lot of times we're doing things in life and we worry ourselves to death about deadlines, and the thing takes care of itself. It's foolish to worry because worrying is not going to help you. It's going to create anxiety. And you need to really, be calm with yourself. You need to go out and absorb nature. You need to go ahead and take good, deep breaths and so forth and come back. It's like a task. Let's say you're trying to put together a bridge and it doesn't go together. You may have to take a time out and come back to it and try it again. So, these are all things called common sense. You probably all know them all. I'm just reemphasizing that the police look very intimidating. They come out with a social worker with the combat boots on and flak gear, and they come to your house, and here's a big towel policeman with the social workers wanting to come in your much needed home because the kids are in imminent danger. Well, my 3 kids were at school, so I don't know what imminent danger they're talking about. Because when they came to my house, my kids weren't there, so I don't know. And they were looking for something. I mean, that's why they brought, they had 5 firemen. And I guess anytime the fire engine's called, the firemen have to travel on the fire truck. So that you only had 1 fireman, but they had 5 firemen and they were inspecting my place and making sure the smoke alarm was in working condition and it was properly mounted right. The code enforcement people, I had 2 of those, were making sure that the back door was secured to the pool area, it was properly latched and so forth. And then the other thing they were looking for was the geez, I lost my train of thought here. The other thing they were looking for, like with the smoke alarms, if they were set the wrong place. They all worked, they're functional. Code enforcement was looking for a lock on the back door for the pool, and they wanted to see a gate around the pool area. So they were trying to investigate that. They were trying anything which way to use against me. That's why you don't let them in your home. What I should have done is that, I'm sorry, I can't let you in the home. Let me take your name and number and I have my attorney contact you. It's very, very important that you have that attorney. So, um, so you're going through this mess with CPS, and that's why you need that rule number 1, that attorney. Another thing on rule number 3 is they're going to try to take your children. And as I said, they have to be in imminent danger. And they're going to say, in my case, I was being charged with neglect because my family belongings were in my house. And the reason why I had them in my house is I couldn't afford storage. And they were dying and they want me to disseminate it to our family relatives. So I was sorting through them, packing up and moving them or whatever. They ended up charging me with that. They also had the detective that tricked me into coming to my home, and he was trying to do similar charges that CPS was doing, but he added a thing called sexual charges. Apparently, they don't tell you what it is, but apparently when they wheel and deal, they want to have a trading card. And so if you forget this and deal with that, they'll reduce it or let it go there. So that's why they were doing it there. But it was neglect of having boxes or furniture too high that may harm the children. They didn't say it did, but I don't know how that was imminent danger. And into my kids went into the foster care system. It's a horrible system. It really is. It's not really nice or user friendly or anything. Now, we're about 15 minutes left in my show. I've had no further text messages. I assume Gina and Beverly and the guy from Mozambique, I have no further questions to talk about there. Again, I want to thank Mr. Davis, and you can call him at 888-888-6582. and asked to talk to him. And, um, it is with great sadness in my heart because I know you guys are troubled, and I wish I could help and magic wand and make it go away. But you need to do some things. You need to do some things. And I'm going to talk about some subject matters. Um, you need to look at the Welfare and Institution Code, and you need to look at Code 300 to 325, and that deals with what your case is all about. You need to look at your state legislative information. There's a lot of things they have at the website that can help you out. Also, you have to be careful with nasty fights with your spouse. In front of children, that can be detrimental to their well being, and it will constitute a form of emotional abuse. Now, research has suggested that exposure to intense marital conflicts can affect a child's mental and physical health adversely. So, you don't want to do that. You heard of physical violence, domestic violence, well, there's also verbal. And you don't want to do that at all. Also, you need to look at the thing called the child welfare system. Now, the state of Washington have their own. They have a lot of interesting things. You need to look at the state you're in. Look at the child welfare system. Look at the child protection system. You need to look at those things. Um, Let me see here. Um, I hold on a second. I just turned on a movie called The Blue Bayou, which is pretty bad. It depicts about a Korean uh, boy who was adopted at age 3, but they forgot to make him a U.S. citizen. And at age 38, he is uh, deported by ICE to leave the country, and he had a family and children and a job and a business. Anyway, because they didn't, he also had terrible, terrible abuse of foster care family members that abused him. That's the sad thing about it. You know, there's the adoption agencies. There was a glutton of Korean kids in the 70s and 80s that a lot of adoptions took place. And it's really, really sad about how things are taken out of contents and so forth. Now, there's a real important motion that you should know about, and that is the motion to modify modifications of your juvenile court judgments and orders, meaning it's a way to modify or change court judgments and orders. It's sometimes in California it's called a 388 motion. And they're filed when there's a change of circumstances or new evidence. What you're doing is you're alerting the judge that I have new evidence, like I completed my program classes, my parenting classes, and so forth. And so you want to present that. And the judge has to have a hearing within 30 days when you file that petition in there. So the petition will change, modify, or set aside any previous court order or terminate the court's jurisdiction. So keep in mind that 3.8 is important to file, because make sure all parties are served by it. Now, for some of you who want to understand, hold on one second here. I got about 10 minutes left here. Okay. There is a good flow chart on the internet. It's called Juvenile Dependency Flow Chart. Look it up. And what there is that there's the initial phone call into the child protection system that alleges something's gone wrong. And they will call within 24 hours. Then they determine if the child is going to be put in custody, or a child is going to be put in, the child not in custody or put in protective custody. This is where they look at the allegations, and if they're in danger, imminent danger, as opposed to. But right now, CPS puts anybody in imminent danger, puts anybody with the case. Well, if they're put into custody, then a dependency petition is filed, and that is filed under the 300 to 325 Health Welfare Institution Code. Once it's filed, within 30 days, they're going to have a detention hearing, and that's going to be determine the child custody and what the case plan is going to be. Then after that, they have judicial hearing, then the disposition hearing, and then either the child's been adopted or not adopted. But that's kind of like the flow chart. Everything is one thing called a safety plan. After your child's taken, you're supposed to, within that week, have a safety plan with a social worker. That's where you're going to give them a list of relatives that the children could stay with. And that's usually the best way to do it, because you don't want them staying with perfect strangers. You want them close, nearby, unless you have some problems with the family members. Now, during that safety meeting, they're going to do something for all you American Native Indians. They have something to protect the children, is that they now will put the children in the hands of Indian family members. They'll no longer be controlled by the federal government. Okay. The ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act, was passed so that Indian children can be placed with Indian families, not necessarily in CPS's hands, because CPS had the notorious thing of taking away and adopting Indian children so bad that they had to pass this act. So it forces the CPS to see if the federal tribe has registered those Indians or could be registered. And if they are, then they're turned over to the family members of the Indian tribe. So that's important to know about the ICWA. No question about that. So important there. There's something else called, you heard about it. It's called medical kidnapping, and that is sad, but there is. It's done by, again, CPS, and that's where if you take your child in, heaven forbid that they get sick, and you take them in to be talked to a doctor, if the doctor and the parents disagree, they could take your child into custody, and they could be in foster care where you may not even be granted visitation rights. That sounds terrible, but it does happen. And again, they have to have what's called a warrant to take away your children. You just don't give it to them. They got to have a warrant. And this medical is terrorizing the families, the children. It's sad, but there's a lot of ways that child protection services is kidnapping our children. A lot of ways there. So I wanted to tell you about that one too. Now, I have talked about earlier in the show about Interstate Compact on the placement of children. That's an organization that supposedly makes it easier for one state to transfer children to another state. There's rules to go by. But apparently it seems to be a problem with this woman in Georgia, that they lost her son, and now he's 18, and they need to get him out of that system. And it's a horrible, horrible case. She's been on the show before. But that's what that is there. Now, you can make complaints. They're hard, but you can make complaints against the judges, against the child protection system, against foster care and so forth. You just Google it. It's different in every state. And so if you have problems with your custody and visitation issues by the family court, then you want to contact the courts in your state with phone numbers, and they can go ahead and tell you how to get in touch with a particular agency or things like that. If you have foster youth rights violations, you can go to the Office of Foster Care ombudsperson, and each state will have that. If you have complaints regarding county social workers, you go to the director of the county and you try to have a resolution. And I tried and I got nowhere. Complaints against law enforcement can be filed with the county's district attorney's office. And then complaint against the California judges for misconduct or wrongdoing is the State Commission on Judicial Performance. So I think any state commission, any state on judicial performance about your judge in your state, with your Texas or Maryland or whatever the case may be. Because the child protection services are so bad that they will come and take your children. And I did not know that. I did not know the laws and so forth. So you need to know there. I want to thank everybody who's texted a message here. Beverly Ernest, Gina from Wisconsin, and Nova Scotia was Beverly Ernest from Canada. We had somebody from Mostabeek that somehow I lost. As I say, I have international interests from other countries. So welcome it all. So keep fighting for your case. You will get your children back. Don't give up. And again, I'll see you tonight. I'd love to have you on my show. God bless you all. And this is Bob Pace signing off.